Hello, my magical friends. What is up this Tuesday for you and your animals? Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Tuesday live chat. And today we're going to talk about puppies. And I do want to welcome you all to Dr. Andy's world. I'm Dr. Andy, where the energy never lies. So that's what we talk about here. We talk about the energy. We ask questions. We see what energy comes up. And then we choose. So we do things a little different here. And I do want to thank you again. I'm so grateful you're joining me here live. Today it is March 23rd, 2021. Or in the future, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Miss Amber from Mexico. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it this week. That's impressive if she remembered little old me on her vacation, huh? And hello, Miss Clark. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. We are... No dates. Hubby's at work. So I guess I could go on a date, but I'd rather go on a date with him, so we'll do that. No, it's a filter. You gotta love Facebook filters. Come on. If you haven't played around with those, you scroll through them. You'll get a good laugh, if nothing else. Hello, Miss Keisha. Thank you for joining us. Okay, puppies. I'll get a puppy. It'll be perfect. And all those points of view. Do you have them? Do you look at, I'm going to get a puppy because then I have a clean slate to create anything I want. And it'll be perfect and it'll be so much easier. And then there's even this point of view. Whatever is wrong, it'll just be my fault. Rather than taking on an older dog, either also from a breeder or adoption. All right, we need to talk about this point of view about puppies. All right, folks, there's a few things that I have become aware of over the years. Well, always ask your questions, right? Would a puppy contribute? Would a puppy fit in or willing to be part of my life and living? And these are questions people don't normally ask. They're just going to get a puppy. It'll be perfect. No questions there whatsoever. Oh, yeah, and I'm guilty of this. Well, when we were looking for adding a Doberman, and we had decided on a Doberman, we attempted to work with the rescue. That was not easy. And then an ad. Okay, people, ready? You ready to fling the judgments my way? Get them up, get them ready. Went to Craigslist and found an ad for dogs there. I know, I'm wrong, bad, and terrible. And yet, this was brought to me, or I was directed to it from Jax. So I followed the energy. The puppy that came to me is Riggs, and he has been mostly difficult. I asked questions. I communed with Jax, the being a Jax. All of this stuff that used all my tools. I used all my tools. I swear, used all my tools. And he came in this body, Riggs, and it's been nothing but difficult, okay? So, instead of, oh, I did it wrong, oh, that was awful, oh, questions don't work, what can I be grateful here for, okay? What is he showing me now? What can we create with this? Okay, we've been working with that. He's now 5. He's still quirky. We're still creating this relationship. He's not that, well, he is smelly. he is smelly on occasion. He's not smelly right now. Let's put it that way, right? He actually has shown me how not to go into the wrongness of me, because he's not perfect. I am here to support him to be his best self, which is a bit hairless, which is a bit smelly on occasion, which has food sensitivities, which has, oh my gosh, what he has shown me about behavior has been, that might be a whole nother live, I'm telling you. He's been amazing that way. Then, let's go back to puppies, okay? And then, my client's like, hey, you want a standard poodle puppy? Yes, I want another puppy. I can do this. I can handle 2 puppies. No questions whatsoever. Didn't even ask Griggs if he would like to add another dog to our pack. Actually, I didn't ask any of them. I decided that I wanted a standard poodle puppy. Because, I don't know why. I don't think there was even a because. I just decided that that's what I was adding. And without those questions and deciding, it did not work out well. My 2 puppies, oh, they'll love each other. They'll have someone to play with, right? All those points of view. It'll be delightful. They'll love each other. No, they don't particularly even like each other. They tolerate each other like siblings. And things have definitely changed over 5 years with questions, with all kinds of tools and following the energy and all that jazz. It's been 5 years. It was really like when they turned 4 that I went, oh, they don't actually really like each other. They were stuck together, and maybe they were doing the best they could with each other for me. But it's been a very interesting journey on that too. Like, you assume that if you bring a puppy into the house, that the puppy's just gonna love everyone and get along with everything. And we assume, and we're kind of, for this whole live, it's kind of like, I'll get a puppy because that's going to be better than getting an adult dog. I'm gonna create my own problems with my puppy. I'm not gonna take on other people's problems with a dog. We don't know their history. We don't know, all these unknowns. You assume, you think, you align and agree with are not going to be there with a puppy. And what if you deciding anything limits it and you're not able to see the entire picture? Be aware of everything that's possible. Because this is what has been become very apparent, become very aware of, is puppies come from parents that have genetics, and they come from lines. They may not come from a breeder, but they come from other dogs. And what is passed down into that puppy that you do not have control over? And everywhere you think you do have control over it, can you give it up? Certain breeds have been bred to do certain things for thousands of years. You coming in, can you change that? And that's a question you can ask. You might get a hard no, but those puppies come from, they come with genes, genetics, tendencies. What if one of those parents, the dog, right? The mom dog or the dad dog, right? One of those parents was horribly aggressive. Is it possible that that gets passed down into your puppy? And if you talk with breeders or hang out with breeders, a lot of them that know their dogs really well can tell you at 6 months, they start to lose the hair on their back half, let's say, for an example. So what if some of those gene expressions don't come out until later? Because at 8 weeks, what if you do have the perfect puppy? And everywhere you go to, oh, this will be perfect. Oh, they won't be like that. Oh, just look how cute it is. Without going, hey, what do I have here? Are you going to fit into my life and living? And then how many of us can turn out a damn cute puppy? I know, right? But what if before we stepped into picking out the dog, what's going to work in your life and living? Is it a senior dog? All right, senior dogs are expensive, my point of view, but they may require more care. All right, middle-aged dogs, 3 years old, that's probably the quote-unquote least expensive time in a dog's life, possibly. But they tend to be mostly adult, tend to be, pretty rocking and rolling, right? Puppies can be pricey. What kind of training do you want to do? Are you going to get a dog that's going to require grooming every 2 months? Like, before that puppy shows up, being so adorably cute in your lap, that impulse, right? Because who can turn down a cute puppy? What's going to work in your life and living? What are you willing to work with? Are you willing to work with a dog that needs grooming? Are you getting a working breed? Are you getting an Australian Shepherd that's going to require a lot more mental stimulation and getting out there and doing more stuff? Do you have that lifestyle? If you just want to sit in front of the television and watch TV, that may not be the puppy for you. But that puppy's super cute, and it'll be perfect because it's living with me. See what I'm just throwing stuff into your worlds for that next time. Puppies are also a lot of work. But if you put in all the work, you can create it just the way you want. See, if you get a puppy, you can't blame bad behavior on someone else. Okay? So who do you end up blaming it on? You? And that's part of what I'm looking at, is that whatever we judge bad behavior could come from the pet, all you. Well, that's just it. It's not all you. You have genetics. You have other dogs. You have where they were living at day 4. You have what the breeder did or did not do. So it's actually not true. And that's what I'd really like to look at here. Thank you, Christy. That was perfect. Thank you. She bringing me back in here. Yeah, because what if it's not all you either? Because I don't know Crosby's parents. I don't know what their temperaments were like. I actually don't even know how many were in his litter. I could probably find out, right? I don't know all of these influences that showed up before they even saw you at 8 weeks. And what kind of impression did that make on their genetics? I've even been noticing that if you have, let's say, 5 generations of dogs that are fed a certain food, the same food every day, no matter what, each generation, the stomach biome, the gut biome seems to be shrinking, and they seem to be more sensitive. So what is truly being passed down from the parents? How much control do you have? That nurture versus nature argument, right? Not that it's an argument, but what does that puppy come in with that you actually don't have any control over? So, everywhere you thought that getting a puppy is always the better option, because you can create it the way you want it. You have no one else to blame. Although, I get what you're saying, Christy. I really do. And yes, it's a term that's out there. But you have no one else to blame. And that's, if that's what's going to work for you, wonderful. Choose a puppy. This is not, talking you out of that by any means, because, puppies and that journey are quite an experience. But everywhere you discount the adult dog because you don't know what problems are going to come with it, right? So what if we go back to our questions and following that energy of what is going to create the most here? Who is going to contribute to this pack, to this family, to this life and living the most? Very open-ended, nothing specific, right? And what if you can get more specific? With my cats, before I actually got the kittens, I did ask who would like to live with, adult people, lots of dogs, willing to travel in the car. And that's what showed up. They were actually, I gotta say, I probably was the most clear and concise asking before they showed up. And they matched the energy here beautifully. Like they just match here. And I do want to talk about one Australian Shepherd that I know. I knew his mama since she was 8 weeks old. She was a handful from the day I met her. She still is. I believe she's 10 now. She was rotten to the core, and I was so grateful I didn't live with her, and I enjoyed her utterly. Well, she had a litter of pups, and one of the pups stayed in the household. He's a very different type of handful, and the owner, the person, is like, kind of goes back to what Christy put here. You can't blame bad behavior on anyone else. She would say, I've known the mama. I've known these puppies since conception, right? They have been with her since a minute old, and he can be quite rotten in areas. And she goes, I have no one else to blame, right? Kind of go back to that. So what did he come in with? That unawareness will come and bite you in the butt. Right? So just lobbing some stuff into your universe about just because it's a puppy, it may not mean you can mold it exactly the way you would like. And what can you contribute here? They're going to come in as their own beings. They have choice. And how clear can you be about what's going to work for you, your pack, your family? And ask for that prior to a cute little puppy showing up, or prior to adopting an adult dog. And this is by no means an either or you should go for the puppies or any of that jazz. After my experience, my journey with my 2 puppies, I joke that I think I'm still suffering from a little PTSD, and I'm just gonna go get old toothless Chihuahuas from now on, because I like old dog energy better. So what do you like better? Like, what's gonna work for you? And I look forward, like the end is so full here that we're not adding anything to this pack right now, and they are more than welcome to stay in these bodies and hang out with me as long as they would like. And I will support them on all their journeys. But, I'm so looking forward to, a few years with an older dog, just having, no question, but just having like the best few years of their lives. Like, I'm assuming, like, I'm going to rescue something that had this horrible life, right? So, I might want to look at that point of view and clear that out before I choose, before I go down that path or whatever. But see how insidious that is? because I assume that I'm going to be able to give them the best couple years of their life. And so I look at it and go, okay, you know, what if it doesn't mean anything? Who would like to come live with me in my life and my living? You know, where is my life and living going to work in their world? Thank you, Christy. If I was an old dog, I want to live at Dr. Andy's. Thank you. I would too, actually. All right, any questions? Anything else pop in your world? Anything up in your worlds that you would like to pop into the comments below? We've got a few more minutes. It was a little shorter than I thought. It's so funny what the topics that I'm like, ugh, I bet I'm on there for like 5 minutes. I end up like, whoo! And then today I thought I had all this awesome information and it kind of went, meh. And so, you know, it's just the energy of it. And maybe nobody here is looking for a puppy, right? And so it kind of depends on that. But I did want to lob a few balls into your worlds that deciding that a puppy is perfect might be a very, very big limitation. And what can you create by asking questions? What if a dog comes back to you? How do you figure out who they want to, is that join, not Jen, I'm assuming? Well, that's just it. You don't figure it out. Own, okay. Okay. How do you figure out who they want to own? That's just it. You don't do the figuring out. You give the job to the animals. Who would you like to own? Bring them to me. And then support them until those people show up. But what if you don't have to figure out anything? And what does the dog know that they chose not to stay where they were and to come back? Yeah, and so in so many places where we try to figure out things, right? Especially with our animals. I think as soon as you go to, how do I figure this out, or how do I fix this, and what's wrong with this, you get yourself into the biggest pile of, pile of poo. Give the job to the animals, create some space, take a step back. So as soon as you figure, you contract. As soon as you try to use your mind, it will limit you. Because it's not just, oh, the people returned him or the people weren't good. I talk about this a lot with my clients. I go, what if they don't want to live there? These critters have choice. These critters, although they don't use words, are master manipulators and manifestors. They create what they would like all the time. And what if they don't want to live in certain places? I believe Sarah was telling me about the dog she's talking about here. He didn't use the potty pads, whereas in other places he was, in his fosters, he always used the potty pads. So what did he know? I'm not going to use the potty pads. They'll get me out of here. So what if that's not bad behavior? What if that was choice on his part to not live with where he landed for those 3 days? Or we can look at the energy another way. And this is the fun part, is taking a look at all of the different energies that are possible and see what is the lightest, see what matches. And I know I say that and everyone's like, oh God, I don't know what that means, Dr. Andy. And it is something to play with and build a muscle with. What if he was testing them? I'm not going to use the potty pad. Let's see if they have it in them to work with me. They failed. They brought me back. Okay, cool, next. Why not? You know, what matches more? He didn't want to live with them, or he was seeing if they were worthy. You know, And we look at things like, oh, dogs end up in foster and then they end up in these homes and they all should be so grateful that so-and-so adopted them. Yeah, that's a very person way of looking at things. They never look at things that way. They're always just grateful. Grateful is just that expansive energy. But they never feel grateful enough or have to, they saved me, so I'll be a good dog from now on. I don't generally look at things that way. Like this little dog. Oh, this couple wanted me. I will be a perfect dog. He's like, okay, this is a choice here. Let's see if they're worthy of me. And yes, every time you ask a question, every time you're working with an animal or their people or the combination of all, that energy is always different. So there's never a right answer. I have met those dogs that are so like, oh my gosh, I made it here. I'm staying here. I'm so never going to rock the boat. We've met those dogs. But that's that energy. That is not this little dog's energy in this situation. Sean's last Doberman, Caesar, he was a quirky guy. Actually, both the Dobermans are quite quirky. And he was running loose. And Sean was on duty. And he got the call. I was on the phone with him. He's like, gotta go. There's a dog at large. So he goes and collects this dog, picks him up, puts him in the 3-day hold, the doggy jail. And day 2, he's like, well, you want to come down and see the Doberman? I'm like, I already knew we were getting a Doberman when we were on the phone a day ago. It actually took him an extra day to get me down there. And the Doberman just kind of stared at me like, I don't know what you are. But he would look up at Sean like he hung the moon. So we brought home Caesar. He still didn't know what to do with me. I just don't think he was around women. And then he kind of figured out I did a lot of the feeding, so it was okay. I think we had him, I don't know, 3-6 weeks, something like that. And he was over at Sean's mom's. And he got out the door. The little toddler opened the door and he ran out the door. He didn't really know his name. He didn't really know these people. Sean left to go pick up dinner or something. I don't know. Ran around town for 5 more days and got picked up. Was in doggy jail again. Sean picked him up. And that dog never left this man's side again. Like, he's like, I got it. You bailed me out twice. I'm with you. Because Sean tied him up once out front while he was gardening and doing landscaping in the front yard. And all of a sudden the dog's standing like right next to him. He had eaten right through the rope and went and stood by Sean. Dog never took off again. So, never again. That from Caesar alone, he also had, some other fun things to show me, was amazing. I had already had the point of view that dogs that ran away always ran away, or, so why do some dogs run away? Do they not want to live there? Is it a little bit of breed specific? Oh, did they come from a long line of every father dog ran away? Like, there's just so many things and so many facets that we try to stick the energy, we try to stick the critters in a box. And that will generally always get us into a little bit of trouble. That is the limitation, that is the unconsciousness, that is the missing the much bigger picture that could create a lot more to us and our animals. So that was a little story about Caesar. I don't talk about Caesar very much. He was a quirky guy. He was beautiful. Oh my gosh, he was red and his ears were already done. He lived with us 4 years, and I loved it when we went for walks because he was so scary looking. Everyone would cross the street and nobody would come up and pet my dogs anymore, which I was fine with because I had so many of them and they always tied me up, and so I thought that was fun. I'm like, well, that's a different energy, right? So what energies do all these animals bring to your life and living? What do they have to show us every single time, every single day, every single 10 seconds? That if you became more aware of it, would change everything. And that's sounds like a really big woo-woo point of view, and it's not. And if you simply just be grateful for them, like, thank you for your contribution, even if you don't know what it is, like linearly, like physically, like in this reality, you just start thanking them for their contribution, their molecules relax. They're like, oh, they're starting to get me. Because we tend to just discount these beings utterly. And they have so much for us that they just want to be with us and show us. And what could that create? Amber's like, I miss Caesar and Rosie and Jax. Yes. Oh, little Miss Rosie. Ooh, one more story, or do we need to go? Like, it's been a half hour. I guess my animals wanted me to talk about them today. Little Miss Rosie came to live with us at age 4. Her back legs were not working. She was responding to medication. I'm going to shorten this really, really, really a lot. And her owners were like, I need to put her down. And I'm like, you're not putting down a 4-year-old dog that's responding to medication. Not going to do it. So I ended up going home with a little 8-pound, skinny little, short-haired, red little dachshund named Rosie. She was a cute little thing. She had these little stubby legs and these cute little ears. And she was hell on wheels. The picture that I have is in her sweater that says, bite me. She pretty much only bit me. She was walking in about a couple weeks and running, and we never had any more issues. That could be a whole different live conversation. But I had told her, I had promised her, my mistake, that I would find her another home. Because she didn't want to live with me, and I didn't want her to live with me. She really, she fell in love with Colby, the younger of my two boys, of Sean's boys. And she loved Sean, and they never let me find her another home. So she lived with us about 4 years, and we were struggling with a little more peeing in the house. Maybe it was an infection. It was right around Thanksgiving, blah, 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 blah. And then one day, I think it was a Saturday after Thanksgiving, honestly, she stopped peeing. Like, no urine coming out. Well, you can't let that go, because it will fill up the bladder and the bladder will burst. Hi, Deirdre. Oh my goodness. So good kind to see you. Thank you for coming today. Stop peeing. So went to the vet, took an x-ray. You could see on the x-ray that she had this thick layer covering the urethra, so no urine could leave the bladder. It was assumed to be cancerous. We had to put her down later that day. We couldn't let the bladder burst. Okay, there's a lot of details to all of that, but energy never lies. So when you're dealing with bladder stuff, peeing stuff, what are your animals pissed about? She was so pissed that I never got her that other home. Because Colby and Sean loved her. She must stay here. Right? Must they? She gave me a run for the money. I mean, she would only bite me. She would only pee on my side of the bed. She would not let me in the bed. Like, she was very, very obvious, and I actually was aware of all of this. But having that conversation with Sean and Colby wasn't happening. So I could go to the wrongness of me, and I should have tried harder, or we should have blah, blah, blah. Or I could be grateful that she was with us 4 years. And how cool was that she showed me that? That's how pissed off she was about living with us. And there was nothing wrong with living with us. She liked the other dogs. She liked her food, like all of that jazz. Like, there wasn't, you would look at where they live and, in my home and all that, and it shouldn't be a problem, right? The energy. And me beating myself up about it, or making Sean and Colby wrong about that, or not having those conversations, is actually, is it disrespectful? It's not honoring of her and what she did contribute to us for 4 years. But she would have rather leave her body than continue living with us. That's just the energetics of it. And I know I should be a lot more upset about it and be a lot more emotional about it. But what if I could just enjoy the 4 years that we had and what she showed me, and damn, she was cute. So kind of all over the place, maybe a little less about puppies than I anticipated, and a lot more about energy. Because what if energy never lies? And here in Dr. Andy's world, that's what we look at. That's what we tap into. That's what we follow, the best of my and our abilities in every 10 seconds. Okay, I'm so glad. Deirdre's here. So cool, so cool. Anything else, my friends, my magical friends? I kept you here long today. Thank you for hanging in there. Oh yeah, and we're back at 4:05 on Tuesdays, which following the energy, like when Keisha and I were looking at it, we're all like, well, meh. That was kind of the energy. Well, as soon as we switched it, the meeting that it conflicted with got moved. So I'm like, well, that was what we were picking up on. Okay, we're going back to 4 o'clock or 4:05. We're going to be live on the 5s. That gives me a little more time to play with the filters. Miss Keisha, if you're with me, anything else? I don't think we have anything coming up, except I will be back here next week, next Tuesday, TLC, Tuesday live chat, 4:05. You really wanted it to be in the Bahamas. Are you still in Texas? She was in the Bahamas. No, I think she's in Texas. All right, my magical friends. Mwah! Until next week. How much fun can you have with your animals? That's it, my friends. Yes, still in Texas. Ooh, I bet it was cold there a few weeks ago. Yeah, I bet the Bahamas are nicer. Bye-bye for now.